Hunt.
Are you?
AM KBDT proudly presents Life Solutions, coaching, counseling, naturopathic medicine, insights for successful living, and getting better with Ann Beal.
Welcome. We want to talk to you today about not missing Christmas. So we don't want you to miss Christmas. We all love the season. The season is fun. It's great. I have on my Christmas sweater. Dr. Slaughter's here, Jim. He has on red. And then he threw his blue sweatshirt on over it, so you can't see the red. But if you're on Facebook, we look pretty good. We love Christmas. We love decorating for Christmas. But the danger is that you can get caught up in the wrapping paper and miss the gift. The gift of Christmas is Christ. Christ.
Something about that, too. Sometimes we can, if we happen to move past those packages and the presents and the wrappings and everything, and do focus on the baby Jesus, you can actually miss the true meaning of Christmas or the true gift of Christmas just by focusing on the baby in the manger. Well, there's more to that than what we see there.
It is a crazy time of year. Even today, I think today is the last day to mail off your packages to get there on time.
Oh, really?
I think so. I know you and I are like, whoa, I thought about that today. That's what they say. And so maybe they've sped it up a little bit, but there's just so much to get ready. And it's really fun buying things for other people. I think it's fun thinking about what you might want, having family over, thinking about all the food. I was scheduling a guy yesterday, and he said that he's got all the family over and everything is planned out to the T from now until New Year's. And I was just like, wow. That's crazy. So we have Christmas cheer to share with you today, and I know you love Christmas and the Christmas season.
I do. I always have, not just as a kid, but on into the rest of my life. I really, really have enjoyed Christmas, and I love decorating for it myself, and some years I haven't had much time to do that, but when I do,
you really get into it.
I get into it. I really love it, and I especially like the stories that are surrounded by Christmas, surrounded by different stories about the season and about the nativity and all of that. My thinking has changed a little bit. There was a time when I believed in Santa Claus, and then there was a time, the second stage of my life, when I didn't believe in Santa Claus, and the third stage of my life now, I am Santa Claus. And so things change as you go along. The perspective
amazing.
changes a little bit, right?
Well, and we love the Christmas season and all that it represents, but I think most of us find it pretty easy to get caught up in the hustle and bustle and of shopping and parties and school events and all those obligations that can rob us of the true meaning of Christmas. And I have so many people that say they don't like Christmas. And those are people that you walk in their house and it's beautiful. It's very Christmassy, and their meals are incredible, just incredible. And they have everyone over. And you don't realize that for them it's so exhausting they don't enjoy it.
You can make it that way, and we'd like to encourage people to avoid that. But there was someone was mentioning, wouldn't it be great if we could take on a simpler kind of life, to help other people in simpler ways and all. But
yes,
sometimes we do get caught up, and I've known people who are they had to go to bed on the Christmas day just because while everybody else was having fun and opening gifts and everything, just because they were too wiped out. And we don't want that.
No, and we want you to feel the joy of the Christmas season and feel the real meaning of Christmas, which is celebrating the birth of Jesus Christ. So here's our Christmas gift to you. Sit back, relax, and enjoy these reflections of the true meaning of the holiday season.
Mm-hmm. And I'm reminded of a story. I got to tell the story.
Okay, you just jumped in.
I know this.
Go ahead.
No, you took a break. I thought it was my turn.
Take a breath. Go right ahead.
So, I bet there was a little guy who it was his birthday, and he'd been getting down. He got down on his knees. He prayed and prayed and prayed for a new bicycle. He prayed that God would give him a new bicycle. But when birthday came, there was no bicycle.
Oh.
Fortunately, Christmas was only a couple of weeks later, and so he began saying, maybe I can make it up here at Christmas. So he began getting down on his knees some more, praying for a bicycle. God, give me a bicycle. Christmas morning, in fact, before Christmas morning came, he just said, he walked, actually his house, they had a statue of Mary in his house.
Well, did he realize that just praying he didn't get the bicycle?
Not yet.
Oh, okay.
Not yet. He's waiting for that. He's praying every day, but he sees a statue of Mary that's a part of their household decorations and everything. And so he takes the statue and he hides it. And he says, God, if you don't give me a bicycle for Christmas, you're never getting your mom back.
Okay, Christy's cracking up over there. Our producer, she's cracking up.
So
okay.
he kidnapped Mary.
So Jim's always telling jokes. He loves to joke. He's very fun to be around. Okay. So if you think about it, there are many different versions of Christmas. And,
Yes, there
and I
are.
think that you wanting presents and, asking for things. And kids can get really frustrated. I have adults that tell me they pray and then their prayers are never answered. And so, we want to talk a little bit about that. But there are so many different versions of Christmas. It's really good just to take some time out and stop, pause, and say, let's go back to the original script. Mm-hmm. What did the original script actually say? And the only true historical reason for celebrating Christmas is at the birthday of Jesus Christ.
Right.
Wouldn't you say?
Yes, that's the main focus. Mm-hmm. That's why we celebrate Christmas. Some of us get a little lost in the wrapping paper, but that really is the basis for it. And there is an original script for that.
Well, nobody celebrates the birthday of a dead person.
No,
Not
we
usually.
celebrate the people we celebrate birthdays
Not
for are alive.
celebrate,
And
right.
often in our family or our friends, they're alive, living.
Well, I shouldn't say nobody. It's nice to celebrate that God gave them to us on that day. Mm-hmm. I know that we kind of like to think about them and everything, but you celebrate the birthday of someone who is alive. And it's because Christians believe and know that Jesus Christ is alive that they can truly celebrate his birthday, right?
Right, absolutely, yes.
So we go back to the original script. We learned that there were a group of people known as the wise men. The wise men. Remember my sweatshirt I had? That you hated.
Yes,
he hated every time he saw me wearing it. It had 3 wise men. Really?
I have to admit, that is funny. That is funny.
You were so offended by it. You're like, that's sexist. And
as long as you didn't wear it when I was with you, it was okay.
And I was like, come on, it's supposed to be funny. Anyway, I'll tell you, though, if there were wise women, they would have been on time. Yes, they were like 2 years late.
The wise men were I guess you could say they were late in a sense. They did not.
They were quite late.
Appear at the stable. We know that they came later than the birth date of Christ, and then we can talk about that.
And they would have brought a casserole or something. They wouldn't have brought strange gifts.
No, in fact,
it's so manlike.
I never thought about that. What if the wise men were wise women? Oh my gosh, they would.
Because wise men, men like gold, frankincense, myrrh. Like, what is that? Now you know all about that. So if you could share with us about that, why these wise men brought gold, frankincense, and myrrh.
Okay, I would. Boy, I'd like to do that. Those images are very principal images, especially in the scriptures and especially in the context of coming to worship a king. Now, it's hard to know where to start with this, but the wise men were they were very, very a priestly class of men, very prominent, very powerful. In fact, they were the ones who appointed the kings of their realm. And we're talking about Persia, and we're talking about Babylon.
They were all over
Parthia.
the world, right? In that time.
They were in the east.
Right, in the east.
In that area around the
world,
Euphrates and Valley and all that. And Parthia had become very, very powerful in those days and had incorporated Babylon and Assyria and all those areas. But so these men, as far as we can tell, came from that part of the world. Okay, we're told that they came from the east, and so anyway, they came on about 1,000-mile journey, and they were intrigued by what the scriptures had taught. Daniel had been the chief of these magi back in his part in the scriptures, and so they knew about the Old Testament scriptures. They knew about prophecies. They knew about Micah's prophecy, Micah 5:2, that the Messiah would be born in Bethlehem, and so God showed them through the use of a created star of some kind. We don't know exactly what it was. That it was time that the Messiah had been born, and so this was their the sign for them to begin their journey to find him. They wanted to find him. If he was the King of Kings, the King of humanity, and the Savior of the world, they wanted to recognize him. And they come from this other part of the world. They wanted to recognize him as the King of Kings and the Messiah, and they wanted to worship him, and they brought gifts that were royal. They were regal gifts to lay at his feet and to worship him.
So are you saying that it wasn't necessarily a star? Did I hear you say that?
Well, we don't know exactly what form it took.
It said a light?
It's called a star.
A star.
It's called a star.
Yeah.
And so it may have been a star of some kind. But the things that usually come to mind, the constellation Pisces, having planets come together in their orientation and seem brighter, new brighter star, a comet. Those things don't seem to fill the bill. I don't think those were what it was.
Well, and you wonder why they would give a baby child. I guess by then, this time he was 2. But I mean, why would they give him those kinds of gifts?
Right. Well, it's because they recognized who he was, that he was the biggest, he was the greatest king. And so they wanted to, symbolize through the giving of their gifts
right.
Who he was and what he was to do in his life. And so gold is chiefly the gift for kings. It's a very expensive gift, and it represented his kingship, the fact that he was the king. And so one of them, or maybe all of them, they brought gold for him to give him.
Yes, because we don't know how many wise men there were.
We don't know how many. Traditionally we have 3 wise men in our nativity sets, but we really don't know. It doesn't tell us. There could have been 3. There could have been 23. Yeah. It's also possible they would have brought some servants with them to help with just taking care of the animals, taking care of their meals. There may have even been soldiers with them.
I can see why they think 3, though, because there were only 3 gifts.
There were 3 gifts, and that perhaps is one of the reasons why they think there may have been 3
And,
wise men.
you really should bring a present to the birthday party. So if there's 3 of you, if there's 100, there should have been 100 presents.
Absolutely.
That's just my opinion.
Right.
But these are very expensive gifts. I mean, gold is very expensive, so I'm just kidding around. But
they're all very, very expensive gifts, and not everybody could have brought those particular kinds of gifts to them, but these men were so influential and powerful. They had money. They could bring these gifts, and they represented all of those countries. Persia, Babylon, Parthia, all those were represented by them, and so they were presenting these gifts. Now, frankincense is a very expensive gift, too.
Well, and let me ask you, so that makes sense that they knew he was going to, they knew he was King of Kings and Lord of Lords. And for a king, they brought it and they kneeled down and gave it to him. Yeah,
the text tells us in Matthew 2 that they knelt down before him and presented to him the gifts, gold, frankincense, and myrrh, and worshipped him.
And worshipped him.
Yeah, the word worship is a word that combines 2 words really in the Greek text, the Greek text, New Testament, and the first part of the word means basically to kneel down, move towards kneel down, and the second part of the word means to kiss. And so the implication is kneeling down to kiss a person's feet, to worship them is the idea. And so they knelt down to worship him. And it's a very personal and spiritual kind of implication for that. So, yes.
So the frankincense.
Frankincense is very difficult to derive. It comes from the sap of a tree in Arabia and some other eastern lands. Very expensive, difficult process to extract the frankincense, but that's what made it so perfect. And it usually is a kind of incense, and so it's often used in worship services, even in churches today. Some churches use incense, burn incense, and it's the idea of, sometimes it communicates the idea of praying. As the smoke from the incense rises up, our prayers rise up to God.
And the Catholics, Christy was telling us that they swing that incense thing. They swing that censer. You're laughing at me. That censer, and that's frankincense. She says it smells. I'll let her smell the frankincense. We actually have a frankincense oil that we have from doTERRA, and I know Young Living has one too, and Youngevity has one, and you can smell what frankincense smells like. They have that, and you're like, that smells just like what they have in the Catholic Church. So that's cool.
Yeah, and frankincense in its solid form, it looks something like rock salt.
And we have that. We'll order it off the internet. We throw it into the fire. Mm-hmm. We have the sap.
We gave some out to friends who were over for a Christmas party one time, and they were fascinated by it. What a neat gift that is at Christmas to give them some samples of frankincense. We even had myrrh.
We did myrrh as well, which we'll talk about when we get back from break and tell you more about the Christmas season and more of our gift to you.
Been listening to Dr. Wallach, and I bet you have some questions. We want to help, and here's how you can get the answers. Call 800-214-0065. That's 800-214-0065. Write that number down, and make the call right now. Don't wait any longer to find out how Dr. Wallach's own all-natural nutritional supplements by Youngevity can help you. Are you concerned with reducing your risk of heart disease, cancer, stroke, or high blood pressure? Help is available. Do you have arthritis, sore joints, lower back pain, or fibromyalgia? Call now. Dr. Wallach creates his own formulation so you can be sure that what is on the label is actually in the bottle. Whatever your health challenge, make this call. Thousands like you have seen results for a happier, healthier life. Call 800-214-0065. That's 800-214-0065. Call today, 800-214-0065. Are you suffering with arthritis or osteoporosis? Do you have diabetes? Did you know that these are just 2 of the hundreds of diseases that have seen improvement with Dr. Wallach's incredible Youngevity products? You can't get them at a health food store. The only way to get them is to call us at 800-214-0065. That's 800-214-0065. Do you have heart disease, fibromyalgia, or high blood pressure? Do you have a terrible time losing weight? Dr. Wallach can help. He was a veterinarian and cured diseases in animals. He felt that he could do the same for humans, so he became a physician. Over 50 years of research and helping people like you goes into every bottle of Dr. Wallach's amazing discoveries. Do you want to feel better? Learn how to treat the cause of your problem rather than covering up the symptoms with drugs. Call 800-214-0065. That's 800-214-0065.
If your credit card bills have gotten out of hand and you care about your credit, call Consolidated Credit now. If the interest rates on your credit cards are so high, it'll take years to get out of debt. Call Consolidated Credit now. They've helped over 6 million people with credit card debt. Without destroying your credit, they can consolidate your debts into one lower payment, reduce your interest rates, and get you out of debt fast. The program works. Call Consolidated Credit now. Call 800-406-0046. 800-406-0046. That's 800-406-0046. Consolidated Credit Counseling Services, Inc., 5701 West Sunrise Boulevard, Fort Lauderdale, Florida, 33313. Licensed by the New York Department of Financial Services and by the Vermont Department of Financial Regulation. Maryland DM 1492. Oregon DM 80092. Licensed by the Virginia State Corporation. Commission license number DC 83. Service may adversely affect the individual's credit. Non-payment of debt may lead to additional finance charges or collections activity, including legal action, not a loan company.
Balance of Nature. Changing the world, one life at a time.
When I wasn't taking it and I was waiting for my operation, I was feeling very tired. Now I'm driving like 11, 12 hours a day. I told you I manage 15 gas stations. And I have so much energy. I even gave some of my pills for my son, and he said, Dad, this is good, so I like it. I'm healing so fast. It's like amazing. My family is so surprised because my wound closing up and doing so good. So that is working now that I'm start taking my those fruits and vegetables.
Experience the Balance of Nature difference for yourself. For a limited time, you can receive a 30% discount and free shipping on your first preferred order of Balance of Nature. Call 800-2468-751 or go to balanceofnature.com and use discount code USA.
I've got to admit, it's getting better, a little better all the time.
And now here's more Getting Better with Ann Beal on 1160 AM KBDT.
We were sharing a Christmas gift with you, going over the gifts that the wise men, not the wise women, and we talked about that, the wise men brought the 3 strange gifts that men tend to do. Not always. They do bring different kinds of gifts usually than women, and we were kidding around about that. But you had gone through frankincense and gold,
and
right? And now you're on the myrrh?
Yeah, they brought 3 gifts that are at least the ones that are mentioned in the New Testament. One is gold, which makes sense. They would bring gold to honor a king. Frankincense is a little bit different, except in a Middle Eastern context, and even back then, it was very important. It was not all that common because it's so expensive, but it is mentioned in the scriptures. And then also myrrh, which is a little bit of a strange gift. Myrrh is somewhat like frankincense, and it also is kind of like rock crystal when you get it.
Like sap.
Yeah,
you can, or oil.
So, but the thing about myrrh is that it was most commonly used for burials back then. And they had a way of embalming people of influence and people who had the money. They would take myrrh and aloes, which was another kind of spice. They would crush it up together with oil, and they would bathe the body with those spices. And it was kind of a perfume. It would create a kind of perfume. I don't know that it would act as an embalming fluid necessarily, but that's what they did. And then they would wrap the limbs and then eventually the whole body with strips of linen cloth.
Which is a strange gift.
Yeah.
But it was because they knew he was going to die for their sins.
Which is the point, I think,
right.
And it is to draw those who knew about that to the idea that this one who was born king was to die. And the scriptures go on, of course, with his life to show that he died for us. He died for our sins. He died so that we could have life ever.
So he was born to give his life for us.
He was born to give his life for us. Yeah, the scriptures talk about that over and over and over again.
And I think for us to really understand and appreciate the symbols of the gifts that they brought, it really helps you to really hear this and understand that the gold showed they wanted to worship him. The frankincense is what they did when they were doing prayer. And so they wanted to pray to him and that they would be praying to him. And some people will actually use the frankincense oil when they pray or throw it in the fireplace when they're doing their studies. I mean, it gives such a great aroma. It's very healing. It's incredible about all the wonderful things that frankincense can do for you, the smelling or the oils. And then the myrrh. Yes.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
That's okay.
No. Okay. I was just going to say that there's another significant point about these wise men. And in their realm, and that we've already talked about in the East, they were so influential and so powerful that they actually were the group of men who chose the kings of those realms. So they were king makers.
They were king makers. So they knew he was king.
They knew he was king, and they went to point that out and to recognize him as the king. Now, Herod, the king who had been installed by Rome, he didn't like that very well, but that's another story. At any rate, they came because they were king makers.
And they knew he was king, and they were acknowledging him as king.
Yes, and worshiping him then when they came. So they knew that he was more than just an earthly king, right? Or they wouldn't worship an earthly king. They knew he was the King of Kings and a heavenly king, a divine king, and they worshiped him, knowing that.
Well, and if you step back and diagnose the problems that were going on in that time, there were a lot of bad things going on. And so if you look at problems in the world today, you can say there's the same thing happening. Would you agree?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, in fact, wow, you look at things now, and, the intrigue, is very similar to things that were going on back then.
It is very similar, and
really
that's what's weird.
Struggles for power and all kinds of things like that. Some of it was on a personal, more human level, and others were country politics. Because,
part of the reason that the Sadducees and Pharisees, the ones that wanted Jesus killed, it was because they wanted the power. They didn't care who he was, and they just wanted him gone because they wanted to keep their power. And so there's just so many similarities, but there are problems in the world today, personally, socially, and globally, really at every level.
At every level, right?
Yeah. And there are many people, and no doubt many people here, who are doing what they can really to alleviate the symptoms of that in their own life and in the world. The big question is what causes the symptoms. And so you see, if you're only trying to alleviate the symptoms, you're always going to have these symptoms. But if you're going to deal with the root cause, that's going to deal with the symptoms. So what is the root cause of everything that's wrong in the world today? The heart of the human problem is the problem of the human heart.
Right, well
right? That's what is at the heart of everything that's wrong in the world today. It's our hearts. If you go back to the original script, which we were talking about, the word to describe the heart condition is sin. That's the word for it. It's because we've all got sinful hearts, that our relationships are polluted, that they're affected. Our community, societies, the world is because of the heart.
Largely, we all want our own way.
We all want our own way. And so let us illustrate this for you when we get back in many different ways and just tell you what to do for it. So stay right here, and you will enjoy our Christmas gift to you.
If you're over the age of 50,
Mention a new product? Do you think companies would be interested in your idea? Do you want to try to get a patent? Then call InventHelp now. InventHelp keeps your idea confidential and explains every step of the invention process. We create professional materials representing your idea and submit it to companies who are looking for new ideas. We have more than 9,000 companies who have agreed to review ideas in confidence. If a company shows interest in manufacturing your invention, we can negotiate on your behalf. We have helped over 10,000 clients receive patents. We also offer services including 3D modeling and animation demonstrating your idea, prototyping services, and we use state-of-the-art technology to show InventHelp client ideas to additional companies. Join the thousands of people just like you who chose InventHelp to pursue their idea. We are experienced. We are working for you. We are InventHelp.
Call us for free information at 1-800-460-1663. That's 1-800-460-1663. Again, 1-800-460-1663.
The last-minute Christmas gift that lasts a lifetime and provides hours of relaxation is a massage chair from Family Mattress and Home Store in Mansfield. They offer a great selection from portable units that fit into a chair or gorgeous leather models by Osaki and Titan. And what better way to watch the big games than sitting on your comfortable new living room set? Come see the variety of styles and colors to match any decor and budget at Family Mattress and Home Store in Mansfield. Their design center will work to get you exactly what you want. All of the furniture at Family Mattress and Home Store is of the highest quality and is built to last. You can get a preview on the web at FamilyMattressandHomestore.com. But better yet, come to the showroom at 990 Highway 287 Frontage Road in Mansfield today to find the perfect gift for a loved one or yourself. Payment plans available. Family, veteran, and locally owned. Call 817-225-2442. That's 817-225-2442. Family Mattress, where family matters. What is the Del Walmsley Radio Show?
Welcome to the Del Walmsley Radio Show, where the hype ends and the help begins. I'm your host, Del Walmsley, and as always, we're working on your financial freedom.
Listen to the Del Walmsley Radio Show Monday through Friday from 11 until noon.
It takes a whole lot more effort to get something started in your life than it does to keep it moving.
Del Walmsley has moved thousands closer to a great life. The Del Walmsley Radio Show is now on 1160 AM KBDT, Monday through Friday from 11 until noon. Listen and move toward your great life today.
To admit it's getting better, a little better all the time.
If you'd like to get better, call Ann right now. 214-810-8255. 214-810-TALK. Now more with Ann Beal on 1160 AM KBDT.
You can also see us on Facebook on Getting Better with Ann Beal, where you can actually watch the video of our show. Okay, so imagine, this is only an illustration, okay? So imagine an angel flies in, comes up to you, and says, well, I forgot to say, I said it right before break. All of a sudden, your life, okay?
Ends.
Okay,
It's over.
Clap. That's why I say it's an illustration. So you wake up in a theater this once, but sitting there on your own and in front of a huge screen. And then the angel flies in and comes up to you and says, welcome to the theater of your life. It's kind of like Scrooge, Christmas Carol kind of thing. Okay, that's what I was thinking. Watch the screen. Now, there on the screen, you see your life, everything you ever did here on earth, everything you ever said here on earth, everything you ever thought, you see it on the screen. And
that is not a pleasant thought.
And you are recovering. As you're recovering, the angel comes back and says, relax. There's going to be a second showing. All the people that were featured in the film of your life are all waiting outside, and they're going to come in and watch it with you.
Oh, God.
And so it's hard enough to watch some of the dumb, bad things you did, but to have other people watch them with you, you know, that's tough. So they're going to go through it a second time. How would you feel if all these people were there watching and you were judged kind of on that basis? There was a guy who was in that Great Race TV show, and he, during the filming, had treated his wife so bad through the whole thing with the maps and yelling at her and screaming at her, and I don't know. But 6 months later, they show it on TV, and they have all their friends there. And they're watching that, and they were really upset with him, and he was really embarrassed. And nobody had ever realized how he treated her kind of in private. You know, it was pretty bad.
Yeah, think about your whole life being on the screen out there like that. Good.
So this is exactly kind of how something like that happens when you die, you know. And so in an instant, we're kind of judged by everything we've thought, said, and done. Now, I know you have some thoughts on that. We'll talk about that. So, again, this is just an illustration. I don't know about you, but personally, I don't want. It's hard enough to even have a private viewing and seeing the things that we've done that we wish we could change.
Just to be reminded of our sinful times, moments, thoughts,
that's
whatever.
So hard. But to have other people watching it with us, all the people we love and care about, that would be. I honestly do not need convincing that I wouldn't want that. So I would want to change everything before that and kind of fix that, like I edit video and I edit movies. So I've said and done things that I shouldn't have, but the other things that the film reveals to us is this. Not only the sins of what they call, the sins of things we've done, commission, it also reveals to us sins of omission. So commission are kind of things we're aware of, things we know we've done. Omission are things that we didn't really know we did. They were kind of accidental, but we really aren't quite aware of it. And so it reveals to us those sins. In other words, the things that we didn't do that we could have done, but we didn't. That's kind of the accidental kind of, or things we don't know, the things we didn't say or could have done. When you've had that little tweak to call somebody or help them out or give to them or whatever, we kind of don't listen. Or you could have been kind, anything like that. So Christmas is a season for us to think, is there something I can do to live differently, simply, so that others can simply live and live better? You see, we're not only judged by our sins and all that, but the thing is this, everything on that film has consequences. Now, a lot of people don't believe that. There are people who think, well, you can just do what you want. It doesn't matter. It does matter. And there are Christians that say it doesn't really matter because God's grace. And yes, he gives us grace, but we don't want to miss what he's wanting to do in our lives. And it can block our relationship with God. It can block our prayers. What else?
Well, I was just going to say our sins incredibly complicate our own world here. Regardless of what happens with grace and all that when we die.
The natural consequences,
yeah, absolutely. Like Peter says in 1 Peter 3 that men who treat their wives badly, their prayers are going to be hindered. They're going to be interrupted. It doesn't go well. God doesn't hear their prayers right, or he doesn't answer their prayers. And so that's only one small consequence. It can be big, I guess. But there are things here that don't go right. They don't go well when we sin. Yeah,
and we kind of live out those consequences here. And all that stuff on the film has the effect of basically disconnecting us from God. And if you feel disconnected from God, you will be amazed if you start asking to be connected to him and be more aware of the sins that and you don't even really think about speeding and, all this kind of stuff. And we take for granted things and just leave it. And to be more conscious and aware to not do that as best as you can. Because it does disconnect us from God. And, so all this stuff on the film works a little bit like an overdraft in a bank account, if you think of it that way. So if you got an overdraft and I have an overdraft, you and me, then I can't really help you and you can't really help me.
And every single human on the planet who's ever lived or ever will is overdrafted. Their account is in the red.
Yeah, and the only one who can really help us is someone who's in credit. They're in black, right? So they have, if you're thinking of a bank account, that would be money. They have money. But your account is credit. So Jesus Christ was the only one in credit. He's the only one who didn't sin.
Right.
And so that's why he came into the world, to do something about our overdraft. My overdraft. And so if our greatest need was information,
then he would have sent us an educator.
Yeah. If our greatest need was money,
he would have sent us a financier or someone, economist or
somebody like that.
Right?
If our greatest need was pleasure,
an entertainer.
But our greatest need was forgiveness. That's why God sent us a Savior, Jesus Christ. He came into this world to rescue us from our dilemma that we're all in, being disconnected from God. So having an overdraft. And you see, these wise men understood this. And myrrh, they knew you'd come to die, and that's why he'd come.
Right, and so they did understand. They probably wouldn't have put it in terms of an overdraft and being in the red and being in the black, but what they did understand was that all people everywhere tend to be disconnected from God because of their sin. I mean, they did understand that from the scriptures and just from who they were. And they're called wise men, right? And so,
wise men.
Anyway,
they were wise.
They realized that this child in the manger was the human-born King of Kings, the divine King, who would be able to put everyone's account in the black again, because he was the connection between them and God.
And they were wise in all the land. And as you see, the Sadducees and Pharisees kind of missed that. So they were supposed to be smart people. But anyway,
isn't it interesting that the people in Jesus' own country
they didn't get it?
They didn't get it. They didn't understand any of it. And these men from 1,000 miles away, they understood what was going on. They came to worship this king.
Well, and one of the things about the Christmas season is that we can get so preoccupied with the baby Jesus even. Like we would do the manger scene and leave out the baby Jesus until the Christmas Eve, and then we'd put the baby Jesus in there. The kids got up; they knew what day it was.
Right.
Like they keep looking. See, is baby Jesus in the manger scene? That means it's Christmas. So, but yeah, you can miss it. You miss the point. The invisible God did make us visible in Jesus. Mm-hmm. You know, God did become a man, but sometimes we leave him kind of as a baby at Christmas. We only think of him as a baby. And so we forget to really understand the significance of his birth. You've got to move on and look at his whole life. You got to move on from the cradle to the
cross. Yes, you do.
To the cross, yes. Okay, so on the cross, in the words of the original script in the Bible, Jesus Christ purchased for us forgiveness. It was as if he was cashing a check signed with his own blood, saying, here is the check to clear your overdraft, to clear your overdraft.
Forever.
Forever.
This isn't just a one-time thing. That would be forever.
And you see, that's why becoming a Christian is so cathartic. It's so liberating, illuminating, because it totally liberates us from our past, really.
True.
And when we're, the film of our life, we know that Jesus has covered all that.
Right. That is what is covered by that check that he writes that covers our overdraft. And he is like saying, you're no longer held accountable for all that.
Yes, and so you can just be like, okay, so grace, I'm good. And you forget that by being obedient, God blesses you and blesses you and blesses you. And we see that all the time. We just had some incredible blessings happen with our kids' student loans getting paid off. I mean, we just see it all the time. But trying to be more conscious daily of being obedient, and someone gave us a boat. I mean, we just have so many cool things, but God wants to bless you, and he wants to move in your life and have you not be disconnected from him. And that's where daily obedience, as best as you can as a human, to try to be more aware, to be obedient. Okay, I'm moving on. Don't miss Christmas. Don't miss it. It is possible to miss it. It is possible. Many people miss the first Christmas. They missed the first Christmas. Did you know that religious leaders, as we talked about, the Pharisees, the Sadducees, they missed Christmas. They totally missed it. Mm-hmm. And that's like crazy. How could they miss it? It's just crazy. In the Old Testament in the Bible, they are what are called messianic prophecies. And this is crazy. There are 322 of them. They tell you about the Messiah, the King, the Savior coming to earth. They tell you how he's going to be born, where he's going to be born, how he's going to grow up, what he's going to say, how he's going to say it, what he's going to do, how he's going to do it. You've even got details it's so detailed, even about the number of coins in his betrayal that would be given to the man who betrayed him.
Even how he will die.
So it is, if you think about it, I'm a math major. So what are the mathematical probability, compound probability what would that be, of 322?
You probably actually figured this out.
I have. 322 prophecies being fulfilled in one man at one moment in time is, this is what I figured out, 1 over 84. That's the fraction. 1 over 84 with 100 zeros.
No way.
And I don't even, so in other words, it just basically doesn't happen every day. I actually tried to come up with how much that was in detail, but people go, don't do it like that. Just tell them the fraction with a bunch of zeros. Okay, so that is a very rare occurrence. So the Sadducees and Pharisees, the religious leaders, they not only knew the Old Testament, listen to this, they not only knew it, they not only knew the 322 messianic prophecies, they had memorized them, right? Mm-hmm. And they were proud of that. And haughty about it. Not all of them, but a lot of them.
And just to say, that's the kind of thing that those men staked their salvation and eternity on. And, of course, it's just like water running through your fingers from the standpoint of what it means and how that works.
And because they knew it and they said that, they learned it all. They had power because of that, how much they knew.
Oh, yeah.
And so they moved up in the ranks. And so... yet they couldn't be bothered. They couldn't be bothered by walking 5 miles. 5 miles. That's all they had to do. Walk 5 miles to check it out and see if that was truly Jesus. And they would have seen it if they'd walked 5 miles. And I hope, I think I would have walked 50 miles to check it out. If I had all those prophecies and everything was falling in place, I would check it out, I hope. And so you can be very religious. People tell me, I read the whole Bible and I know all that and blah, blah, blah. But they don't act it in their life. And so you can be very religious and not know the truth. You can even teach religion and not know the truth. And there are many religious people who haven't yet encountered the transforming truth of who Jesus is. Religious leaders missed Christmas, and when the pastor of Gateway, what's his name?
Robert Morris, he said that he was an evangelist for years before he became a Christian.
He didn't know, and during that time he was confronted. He talks about his story in a hotel room, and it changed his life, and he accepted Christ because he didn't really know the gospel very well. It didn't affect him. It didn't change him. And that night it did. So there are religious leaders that have had that happen. And so you can teach religion, know the truth, and there are many religious people who haven't yet encountered him. The religious leaders missed Christmas. King Herod missed Christmas. Yes, he did. The innkeeper missed Christmas. Okay, there's some funny stories about that. I wouldn't have been a great signature. I just think having the guest book signed by Jesus' parents. How cool is that? Jesus' mom, Jesus' stepdad, the Savior's stepdad, signing that. That's just so cool to me. Mary, the mother of Jesus, having that on your... Anyway, so many people who are preoccupied now miss it. And so J. John talks about... He is an evangelist in England. And he talks about when, and he speaks all over the world. He's a preacher and author and all these things. And he's been doing it for a while. But he said when he was a student in London that he was an agnostic. And he didn't believe in God. I wasn't interested in God, he said. And then I met a Christian called Andy Economides. Sounds like he's Greek.
You did so well in pronouncing that guy's name.
I know. And he started to talk to him about Jesus. He said he started to talk to me about Jesus. He gave me a Bible. And he told me to read the original script. And I started reading it. There were lots of questions. We would talk in dialogue, and we started approaching Christmas. And he said to me, do you send out Christmas cards? I do, actually. And I felt quite proud of myself, I do. And he said, well, make sure that they're blank. And he said, what do you mean? Well, you're an agnostic. You don't believe Jesus is the Christ. You don't believe he's God. You don't believe all these things, do you? No. He says, well, you don't want to be a hypocrite, so make sure all your Christmas cards are blank.
Yeah, you don't have anything to say.
No. That really irritated me. But amidst the irritation, I thought, he's right. He's right. And as I read more and I talked more and I dialogued more, I was captivated. This is the most amazing gift we're being offered. And I started to believe, but it took me a while from believing to receiving. It took me a little while. I received the gift in February 1975. And we want you to do that today.
Are you suffering with arthritis or osteoporosis? Do you have diabetes? Did you know that these are just two of the hundreds of diseases that have seen improvement with Dr. Wallach's incredible longevity products? You can't get them at a health food store. The only way to get them is to call us at 800-214-0065. That's 800-214-0065. Do you have heart disease, fibromyalgia, or high blood pressure? Do you have a terrible time losing weight? Dr. Wallach can help. He was a veterinarian and cured diseases in animals. He felt that he could do the same for humans, so he became a physician. Over 50 years of research and helping people like you goes into every bottle of Dr. Wallach's amazing discoveries. Do you want to feel better? Learn how to treat the cause of your problem rather than covering up the symptoms with drugs. Call 800-214-0065. That's 800-214-0065. They say we're not getting any younger, but many thousands have felt younger after a few short months using Dr. Wallach's all-natural longevity nutritional supplements. How many times have you said one of these days I need to call Dr. Wallach and find out what I need? Well, make that day today. Here's how to get that information. Call 800-214-0065. That's 800-214-0065. Write that number down and make the call. The information is free, and there is no pressure. So do it now. That's 800-214-0065. If you face health challenges such as heart disease, arthritis, diabetes, fibromyalgia, depression, infertility, ADD or ADHD, high blood pressure, or one of hundreds of other diseases, help is available. All you have to do is make the call. You have nothing to lose but the pain and suffering. Call 800-214-0065. That's 800-214-0065.
If your credit card bills have gotten out of hand and you care about your credit, call Consolidated Credit now. If the interest rates on your credit cards are so high, it'll take years to get out of debt. Call Consolidated Credit now. They've helped over 6 million people with credit card debt. Without destroying your credit, they can consolidate your debts into one lower payment, reduce your interest rates, and get you out of debt fast. The program works. Call Consolidated Credit now. Call 800-406-0046. 800-406-0046. That's 800-406-0046. Consolidated Credit Counseling Services, Inc., 5701 West Sunrise Boulevard, Fort Lauderdale, Florida, 33313. Licensed by the New York Department of Financial Services and by the Vermont Department of Financial Regulation. Maryland DM 1492, Oregon DM 80092. Licensed by the Virginia State Corporation. Commission license number DC 83. Service may adversely affect the individual's credit. Non-payment of debt may lead to additional finance charges or collections activity, including legal action, not a loan company.
Who could ever take care of your sweet fur baby as well as you do? Pet Me Grooming, Boarding, and Supplies, that's who. If you live anywhere near Fort Worth and need a trusted pet wellness center, look no further than Pet Me Grooming, Boarding, and Supplies. They'll take every possible measure to ensure your animals get the care they deserve. The highly trained animal lovers at Pet Me Grooming, Boarding, and Supplies work hard to learn everything they can about veterinary care, and they share that information with you. They offer grooming for dogs and cats, pet food, toys, supplies, and all the clothing your pet needs to be happy, healthy, and well cared for. Yes, I said pet clothing. They even have a self-dog wash available. Whether it's grooming, loving care while boarding, or even training for your baby, call Pet Me Grooming, Boarding, and Supplies today. 817-720-6067. That's 817-720-6067. Or find them on the web at www.petmesupplies.com. Pet Me Grooming, Boarding, and Supplies. 2 locations to choose from, Hazlitt and Saginaw. Pet Me Grooming, Boarding, and Supplies. Call today. The time. Now back to Ann Beal on 1160 AM KVDT.
So if you kept hearing bells ring during that, it was my sweater, my goofy Christmas sweater. Okay, we were talking about J. John, talking about him being an agnostic, and when somebody told him about Christ, he said he read the original Christmas story, and he realized, and they confronted him about Christmas cards, him sending Christmas cards all the time, and he said he knew he was right. And as I read more and talked more and dialogued more, I was captivated. This is the most amazing gift we're being offered, and I started to believe. But it took a while from believing to receiving, and it took a little while. But on the 9th of February, 1975, I received the gift. And when I received the gift, it was the most incredible, transforming, illuminating experience that I've ever had. The light came on. The light came on. He said, the light came on. Right. So don't miss Christmas, he says. I love the season. I love everything that's part of the season. It's great. And so, again, we just encourage you to don't get caught up in the wrappings and the wrapping paper and miss the gift. The gift of Christmas is Christ. He's the gift. So I want to pray one of our favorite Christmas prayers as we conclude, and just kind of finish up this part of the show. May God grant you the light of Christmas, which is faith. The warmth of Christmas, which is love, the radiance of Christmas, which is purity, the righteousness of Christmas, which is justice, the belief of Christmas, which is truth, the all of Christmas, which is Christ. And we celebrate the birth of Christ, the birth of Jesus. May God grant you all these things, not just as Christmas, but also throughout the new year and all years to come. And let me just add quickly.
Well, there was something I wanted to add.
I know you wanted to talk about the parents.
Well, on Men Loving Well, which is my radio show, I really try to address men's issues. And one of the things that I've tried to do during the Christmas season is to encourage men to talk about the important aspects of the birth of Christ, biblical aspects, the truth of it, things like we've talked about today, humility, forgiveness, those kinds of things, and what the birth of Christ really signifies for us, and to share those with their children and all their family. And so I wanted to encourage everyone to do that. If you're a parent today, I think it's really, really important to make an effort to communicate the message or the messages that we've talked about today, how important that is for our children to know that, our families. Keep our families focused on Christ during this Christmas season. We can allow our Christmases to be hijacked in a lot of ways by the distractions, the extraneous things, the busyness, the greediness, the gluttony. I hate to use that term, but sometimes that's what it is in our culture, and that's what we're kind of known for. and we could go on and on about that. But Jesus could have been born anywhere. He could have been born in a palace because he deserved that from an earthly perspective, a human perspective. But, he was born in a stable. Goodness.
And a stable, it's cool because, what we see in the manger, and we talked a little about this last week, that the manger is actually...
The mangers back in Jesus' day were limestone blocks that had been chiseled out in the middle.
So they were rock. It wasn't this little wooden thing with hay.
They don't have wood over there much, and so they don't build things out of wood. They just build things out of limestone. And I was standing with a guide at Solomon Stables a few years back, and I saw one of those blocks on the ground. I said, "What's that?" He said, "It's a manger." And then we talked about that. So Jesus was laid in the center of a limestone block that had been chiseled out. Yeah. Probably had some straw and blankets and things like that in there. And I was thinking also, we've had animals, stock animals, and horses and stuff. And I know that if those stables, the horses stall, if they're kept clean and fresh hay, they smell great.
Yeah,
if they don't, then they smell pretty terrible. But I'm just taking just suggesting that the innkeeper was good at that, and so he kept that stable clean.
But the wise woman would have cleaned up the stable too.
And she would have helped with the delivery of the baby and all that.
They would have just cleaned that right up. Yeah. And so we will put some ideas for keeping Christ in Christmas on the Facebook page. And when you join us next week, we actually have Peter Fretheim and maybe his wife Miriam. They actually run this huge ministry in Africa. They have orphanages with lots and lots of children there in Africa that they help. And they run Genesis Farms. They started Genesis Farms 20 years ago to provide food in Africa. And so we're going to kind of highlight their ministry. And we'd love for you to give to them, the Genesis Farms and their whole ministry. And we just loved having you here. And again, just remember to keep Jesus in Christmas, to keep Christ in Christmas. And again, we want to grant you the light of Christmas, which is faith, the warmth of Christmas, which is love, the radiance of Christmas, which is purity, the righteousness of Christmas, which is justice, the belief of Christmas, which is truth, the all of Christmas, which is Christ. As we celebrate the birth of Jesus, may God grant you all these things. You guys just have a wonderful Christmas, not just as Christmas, but remember all throughout the new year and the years to come. And we will see you back here next week for our last show right before Christmas. Mm-hmm. And just enjoy your week and be blessed. And remember, getting better is getting better in your life, especially at Christmas. Take good care.